Everyone, it's Medina from the Clarinet Life, keeping it classically real for y'all, and today I want to talk about etudes, specifically the Nocentini etudes. So for this video, I want to talk about number 3. It's, I believe, in G minor. I have it here, G minor. And I want to mention these etudes because when I was starting off as a clarinetist, I actually had never played these. I discovered these much, much later. And I wanted to share with you why I think you need these etudes for your library and why your students need to be playing them. I did take some notes, and I'm gonna play just a little bit for you. You should have had a chance to hear like the whole etude. So full disclosure, I took it probably faster than what most people would take it, but I felt it worked that way. I sometimes, when I play an etude, I think of it as just like a solo piece of music, depending on the type of etude. Some etudes don't lend itself to that as easily. But, so a little bit about Nocentini. He is an Italian composer, but I have to be really honest. I found it really difficult to find a lot of information about this particular gentleman. So it was one of those things that, I checked the Google machine, it's how you find out everything. And I really couldn't find a lot. He has written for winds, like woodwinds before, but other than that, not too much. Ricordi does have, that's a publisher by the way, does have 50 technical studies. And I will put in the description box if I can find any more information of where to get those exercises. I believe that there's also another edition of the 24 Melodious Studies, which is what we're working on, or at least what we're talking about today, and what I've played for you guys. And I'm looking at my notes, and I think the other publisher that has the Nocentini alone is Edizioni Musicali. And I'll put that in the description box. Also, hopefully they'll still have it. I have to be really honest though, trying to find these etudes was a little trickier than I expected, but it's okay. There is an easier way to get them. Maybe not using these stores, maybe so, it depends, but I think that the version that I have, it's by Southern Music Company, I think it's more accessible for everyone to purchase. So we'll get into that in a little bit. Yeah, so Southern Music Company has a lot of books that were edited or written by David Hite. And these books, what I love about these books, whether it's Behrman or Rose, in this case Nocentini, what I love about them is how they're organized. And I'm sure throughout this channel, I'll go back to David Hite and his books by Southern Music Company. So the one that I'm using, just to show you, is this right here. This is a newer edition, I think. Some of them have like a little nymph on the cover. I have some of those also, but for Melodious and Progressive Studies Book 1, this is the one that I have, and I have a couple of students that are also working on this. What's nice about these is that it includes more than just like one set of etudes. So we have Demnitz, which I've talked about in a previous video. We have Nocentini and Behrman, and some Clarinet. So what I also like is this, the pricing for this was $18.95 USD. Not bad, right? Especially for all the music that you're getting. And so I suggest definitely if you're an educator, you need this for your studio, and for students who are wanting to work on their musicality and work on their technique, I think you should totally check out Book 1, Melodious and Progressive Studies. And so Nocentini wrote these 24 melodic studies, and they're categorized in keys. So for example, number 1 is in E minor, number 2 is in B minor, number 3, the one I just played for you, this is in G minor, so we're dealing with 2 flats. So let's talk about some of the things that you might need to inform your student about, or what if you're playing it and your student, or just some professional just wanting to learn some more music, just some aspects of it. So it is in 6/8. 6/8 is a compound meter. Compound meter means that the beat is divided into 3 parts, right? So as opposed to its counterpart, its duple counterpart, simple meter. Simple meter, examples of simple meter would be 2/4, 3/8. Why? Because the division of, like, let's say 2/4, 4/4, 3/4, you know, the beat is the quarter note, and the quarter note is divided into 2 parts, 2 eighth notes. Well, in compound meter, this is different, right? The time signature, 6 on the top, 8 in the bottom. 6 is the basic division, 8 is what the division is. It's an eighth note. And we know that an eighth note is not divisible by 3 parts. So we know that that's not the beat, all right? The dotted quarter is the beat. And we know that 3 eighth notes equals a dotted quarter, right? So just make sure that you understand what that means. So when we're counting, we're gonna use 6/8 because that's what this piece is. You would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm literally counting each eighth note. However, the beat is 2. Why? Because if I have a total of 6 eighth notes, that means that I have 2 full beats. Why? Because a dotted quarter and a dotted quarter, that equals 6 eighth notes. And so you will maybe see the conductor, or your teacher might say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's in 2, but remember, we are dividing the beat into 3 parts because it's a compound meter, okay? So that is really an important aspect that you have to learn. And I strongly urge you, if you're teaching a student who is just learning about compound meter, this might not be the etude to go with yet, but I say don't try little tips and tricks. Just give them the facts and you know, work with them and build with them the understanding of what compound meter is, and with 6/8, because if not, it's going to be confusing for them. They're not going to understand that the dotted quarter gets the beat and it's divisible into 3 parts. So please make sure that, you know, just give it to them straight and work with them on that. And what I like about etudes is it's kind of like this stew of theory, ear training, and performance. And so we want to make sure that our students know what these meters are and what they mean. You know, they'll hear it in ear training or oral skills, but it's different when they have to put it with their instrument. And so what we do want them to know is that it's not really that different. It's all the same thing. The problem, though, is a lot of times when students are educated in classical music, everything is like separate divisions. It doesn't have to be that way. It shouldn't be that way, in my opinion, my humble opinion. So we have to remember that we want to kind of bring it all together. And so when we're talking to our students, and when we're learning music and working on music as professionals, we want to make sure that we understand the analytical aspect of it, because it's going to help our playing more. With the structure comes the freedom. So in this instance, you know, we don't start playing on the downbeat. We play on the second, eighth note. And so that aspect of rhythm is going to challenge that student potentially, right? A lot of times we're used to playing right on the downbeat. Downbeat is the beginning of the measure. However, we don't always have that in music, and we don't have that in this etude. As a matter of fact, this is a common theme throughout. Ba-dee-da-da-da-dee-dum. Right, so we do that. That's just reading. This read's not so good. But every single time the gesture starts, I'm talking about the phrasing, the musical idea, it's not on the downbeat most of the time. And so that can be a challenge to a student. This is why I'm saying that if your student doesn't know compound meter, this might not be the right etude for them right now, but they definitely can get into that. But just keep that in mind, because that can be a challenge. I'm trying to pick out a reed right now. So unprepared, oh my God. I also just got this reed case. This is ProTech. I used to have an older ProTech case. It's plastic. But yeah, so let me get a better reed. Yeah, this reed here is a little bit old. You know, throw it. Get this one. Okay, so 6/8, we have compound meter, and then in addition to that, we're not starting on the downbeat. Some other things about this particular piece, it's in a minor key. I love that, because a lot of times when we play the clarinet or any instrument, like if you're being introduced to music in, my notes down, if you're being introduced to music in like band, a lot of times you just get the major keys, you know? Okay, it's okay, could be better, but that's life. And the thing is, the reality is, I actually think that minor keys should be introduced pretty soon in teaching the clarinet. And the reason why is part of it's because of the range of the instrument. And I know I'm kind of digressing a little bit, but we know that when you hit the break, that means that all fingers down B natural, that could be a challenge. So technically speaking, the highest notes that your students can play easily are the A and the B flat. And so I think A natural minor is a great skill to teach them in the beginning. So you're already kind of diving them into that whole minor key, that sound, that realm of minor. And also it gets them kind of excited about learning a different key, you know? So anyway, I digress, I come back. This is G minor. So we have 2 flats, and so this is a great opportunity to introduce relative, major, and minor. When I say relative, just FYI, I'm talking about the key. Okay, so the major scale that shares 2 flats is B flat, right? And its counterpart, its relative minor, is G minor. Now, if your student is like, ugh, I don't know that, I don't remember that, I can always do a video on, you know, major and minor keys. If you're interested, let me know in the description box. But basically, if we're in G minor, its relative major is a third up, right? B, in this case, it's a lower third, so it's a B flat, right? So, enough of that. But that's important. So what I'm getting at is you could teach them a scale and give them some etudes with that. And so this is a great way to kind of get that context of that theory analytical part, technical exercise part, and putting it into music, right? That's what etudes are. It's like the technical forming into music, essentially. At least that's what I like to say it is. So let's read a little bit. But anyway, so let me play a little bit of the opening. So you see that we're starting not on the downbeat. So they're gonna have to think 1, 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ba-da-dee-da-da. So that they have to feel that. And so that's an important skill in ensemble playing. Excellent that they're doing this in this etude, but that might be something you might have to help them with. Now, in addition to that, there are accidentals, okay? So they need to be familiar with the key. They need to be aware of that. There are a couple of grace notes in there. That's not so bad, right? Now, the other thing I will say is, let's see, I'm looking at measure 29, and in measure 29, there's some 30-second notes. So that's one thing I will say is, you know, sometimes what happens is when we see, I'm going to switch my read, we see a division that is really small, like 30-second notes, or even 16s. Our brain goes, ah, right? Oh no. But the reality is it's all in relation to the tempo and to the meter, the time signature. And so if we're thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then the 16th note is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and. So then the 30-second isn't so bad. It's essentially, it's a turn. And so they're writing out the turn. So it might be one of those things that you might need to introduce that or not. I don't think it's like totally essential just for the student to know what a turn is. No. I like this read better. Right, so it's okay. So 29. I'm going to start at 28. Right, so it's one of those things that they'll get it. I think the key though is getting their fingers to move fast enough. I think that's what's going to be the challenge potentially, and so that's great opportunity to work on fingers. Form, it's basically ABA, A, B, A comma, with a little codetta sort of deal happening. There is some syncopation. This might be a challenge. So for the student that is getting introduced to 6/8 or knows 6/8, this would be kind of like right up their alley, I think, especially if they've played 6/8 before. I'm looking at specifically measure 46. Not 46, scratch that. 44, 45 are the ones, and then 46 is kind of, we go back to 8th note, so 46 is like a reminder of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let me play for you. I'm going to start kind of like the pickup to 44. So if you have the Nocentini, turn to page, if you have the Melodious Study book, it's page 32. Let me play a little bit. So bum ba digga dum ba digga dum ba digga da. That part right there, it's a little bit tricky just because there's a tie, and so you have to release. And what that kind of means is don't hang on too long. So it's one of those things that with ties, and by the way, a tied note, you probably already know this, but a tied note, basically it's the same note, has to be the same note in order to be a tie that is connected to another note. It adds value to the note. So for me, with students, if I'm starting something with an etude, piece of music, whatever, and there's ties, I tell the student to take the tie off first and then add it back on. Right? Because it makes it a lot easier. Then you can see 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 5. And taking the tie out is helpful, but also slowing it down, right? Anytime I'm practicing a piece of music, even if I know it, I'll slow it down and I'll isolate it. So this is one of those sections where your student might need a little extra help. But yeah, I feel like it's pretty straightforward. Let me check my notes. Make sure. more things. In terms of dynamics, for this particular etude, it's pretty well written. However, I don't know if they are exactly what Nocentini had put. Why? Because David Hite is the one that edited this. So I don't know exactly, but we start with mezzo piano, and you know, we have crescendo, decrescendos, mezzo forte. Sometimes when you have an etude or a piece of music, the composer doesn't really put a lot of dynamics, and they give that responsibility to the player. But in this instance, I think it's pretty clear, and I think the strong points of these etudes is it's very melodic. So let's see. I'll just grab a little section. I know you guys have heard it already, but why not? So in that spot, I personally like to slow down just a little bit, a little rallentando. It's not stated in there. However, I think that Nocentini would be okay with it. I use my artistic license. And I'm going to continue in 36, which is our odd tempo. I want you guys to try these etudes. If you've played these etudes before, let me know what you think of them. And you know what? Summer is coming, you know? I mean, it's spring right now, still a little bit cool in New York City, but, you know, these are some great summer etudes, I think. So let me know what you think, and maybe I'll play another one and introduce some of my thoughts about it. But yeah, I really like these etudes. I totally think you should get it. I recommend this book, and keep practicing, and let me know what you're up to. All right, bye guys, thanks, and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the like button if you liked the video. Thanks everybody, have a great day.